So we need to adopt an easier, an easier and more friendly Debian.
Actually, there is a variety of learning tools, so we can help you with this anytime.
Yes.
We can discuss about it later.
Yeah, of course.
So I pass this slide.
It is used basically by the universities. Moodle. When I was a student in economic sciences, we used to have this kind of Moodle to communicate with our professors.
Yeah. So let's see something about Big Blue Button. Big Blue Button is an open source web conferencing system for online learning. Actually, it delivers a high-quality learning experience to remote students, providing features like desktop sharing, a whiteboard, which the moderator, the presenter, can have notes, can share notes with his students potentially. Some other features are the integrated VoIP and webcam sessions, and it provides the opportunity to record a learning session for later playback from the students. There are, we can say there are three types of sessions. You can have just a chat session, you can have, of course, an audio session, and a webcam session. The presenter, which is the moderator of the session, can assign rights to the students. He can decide to allow them share their screen, their microphone, and he can have the control of the whole session. In this presentation, I would like to point out the integration of the Moodle system and the Big Blue Button system. The Moodle actually is an asynchronous platform. It's not happening on real time, but we can integrate this system with Big Blue Button, which as being web conference system, it can provide real-time communication, and this way resulting in a high-quality learning experience. Here is a Big Blue Button, an example of a Big Blue Button session. Let's say the man in the video is the presenter, and he can decide to. Here we can see a webcam session. Students can share can see the lesson, the slides about lesson 1, which we can see here in this slide. Here, from this part of the screen, the presenter can decide what stuff to upload so that students can have access to them, or to which students he wants to assign to have an audio session. And there we can see the chat session. Okay. Here is a screenshot of more people attending the session.
This Big Blue can be integrated only to Moodle or to other?
There's a variety of other systems that we can integrate to Big Blue Button, but maybe we can discuss it later.
Yes.
If it's convenient for you, you can see them. Furthermore, there is an extra feature, there's a button which is called raise hand, so if a student had a question, he can push the button and the presenter can have here's an example of the integration of Moodle and the Big Blue button. The first thing is that students have to log into the Moodle and join the arrange session, which is, let's say, this one. Then students log into the Big Blue button and the session starts. And if it's on the record in mode, the students can find the recording session in the Moodle. It's an automated process. Thank you.
We will continue, but as you know, we have a practicum after this. So if you can restrict your speech, I told you about 7 minutes per subject. If it's possible to do this, please. Because our dancers are here, we also have a team waiting for us in another room. So we try to, and we also have the associated partners who have their presentations too. So let's continue now. We have now the partners from Cyprus. There.
Hello. I would like to turn the computer so I can see you, because I know this gentleman would like me to do the presentation for him, but I would like to talk to you and see you. So let's turn that. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Alexandru. I come from Cyprus. This is my second time here. I'm very happy to be here. I would like to thank you for organizing this wonderful seminar. I would like to thank Alexandru. I would like to start with the presentation of my association, ECPL Cyprus Association. Before I start, I will say a few things. Why is important, the lifelong learning program, why is important for us? Because, of course, we meet other European people, we learn new things, but also we are promoting a culture of peace, and we inspire every person to make a difference in the world. We find a way through these lifelong programs to build a peaceful world where we can all live in peace by acknowledging and respecting each other's culture. This is the structure of our team. We have the coordinator, Tonis Antonio, Giannis Storidis, my colleague, who is by the support, Rinkos Masouras, Andreas Lucios, and my colleague Zina. So, European Computer Driving License is an international recognized standard of competence, a widely acceptable certificate that asserts that the holder has knowledge and skills needed to use the most common computer applications efficiently and productively in the workplace at home. And we do offer this program. As you see here, it's a national computer driving license. Outside Europe is called ICDL, and again is the world's largest computer skills certification program with 7 million candidates in 146 countries. The ECDL is managed in Cyprus by the Cyprus Computer Society, which I am a member. It's a scientific or computer professionals, independent, non-profit organization, association of information technology and computing in Cyprus. It was established in 1984 as Cyprus Computer Society, and it has more than 800 members. It's administered by a 7-member board, elected by Member General Assembly every 2 years. And every 2 years I go and vote for the candidates we have. The ECDL was introduced in Cyprus in 1999, and we had the first test in 1999. The Cyprus Computer Society organizational structure. The ECDL is managed by the ECDL, the Cyprus Computer Society, and the program is supervised by a program manager appointed by the Cyprus Computer Society. We have a network of testers and test centers and auditors that run this program in Cyprus. Apart from managing the ECDL testing process, the trainers programs are organized throughout the year to support ECDL trainers for their preparation and delivery of the training of the new ECDL modules. And we are also running the ECDL Certified Training Professional Program, which is the quality benchmark for ECDL trainers, and I'm also ECDL Certified Training Professional. We participate in various activities such as the International Education Fair. We offer free training and testing for vulnerable groups such as the blind and deaf. We have special tests for these people. Of course, as a result of the financial crisis in Cyprus, we offer free ECDL training courses and testing to unemployed people to help them find a job. Of course, the ECDL in Cyprus is offered by universities, colleges, schools. A major success that we had as an association in Cyprus was a project awarded by the Ministry of Education and Culture during the period 2005 and 2008, where 4,500 teachers were trained and certified in ECDL modules. And I was a teacher then, teaching ECDL to teachers at school. And my headmaster at school was one of my students back then. So once I've been to the school this year, he said to me, "I know you." So we met before. So ECDL is unique both in its structure and content. In terms of the structure, candidates are allowed to select 3 out of 7 modules, so that the test they take match their interest and professional and potential. I would like to thank you. Now I will continue with, I'm moving very fast because I respect what Mr. Alexandru said to me. I have to be.
Because you said that PPT-X and this one is only with PPT. And you should close this old one.
No, okay, that's fine. Now, I will talk to you a little bit about the history and the culture in Cyprus. As you can see, this is beautiful beach we have in Paphos. We have 12,000 years of history and culture in Cyprus. The island of Cyprus has always been very important in terms of strategic position because it was the stepping stone to Middle East, Asia and Europe. People who will come all the way from Europe, they will step in Cyprus and jump on in the Middle East or Africa, and people who will come from Middle East, they will step in Cyprus and jump in Europe. So it was a very important strategic position, and many powers wanted to control Cyprus. And our culture has evolved in all these years, and I'm going to explain to you a few things about culture. What is culture? Term used in the classical antiquity by Roman orators Hero, cultura amini, cultivation of the soul, reappeared in modern Europe in the 17th century as a betterment or refinement of individuals through education. The good thing here is that culture can be influenced by education, and this is our role as educators, as school, to help to improve the culture and help the people. The meaning of culture. Culture is an integrated system of learned behavior patterns, different behavior patterns, which are characteristic of the members of the society, which are not a result of biological inheritance. So we have different patterns of cultures, and then they are integrated into the culture, and this is how the culture evolves. Cultural physical artifacts created by society is so-called material culture, and everything else that is tangible, such as language, customs, etc., are the main reference of the term culture. So, in this presentation, I will show you a little bit of history of Cyprus, the evolution, how the Cyprus culture evolved, and the crucial role of education in culture, changes and builds. Cyprus had people living for 10,000 years BC. We have here the pre-Neolithic period, and then we move on to Aceramic Neolithic settlement of Theocritia. This is the place we visited when you came in Cyprus for the art teaching project. Historians and researchers don't have any reference from where these people arrived to the island, but they believe they came from the Levante area, the first people. And then we move on to the Chalcolithic period, and this is where Cyprus got its name, from copper, from cuprous, they call it Cyprus. And here we see people learn new skills, how to make things out of copper. And then we move on to the Bronze Age. People migrated to Cyprus from Anatolia. They brought their customs, their traditions, their language, the skills. And then we move on to the Late Bronze Age. We have the Mycenaeans arrived in Cyprus. We have cultural expansion. They brought new skills to the island. People learn how to make pottery, and we have a thriving economy because by education, where they learn new things, they managed to produce some products, and they used to export, and the economy was thriving. And then, of course, we move to the Achaemenid colonization. We have the Hellenization of Cyprus. This is my friend Alex, when we visited Kourion. And then we have the Phoenicians. We had a strong influence in the island. They had 5 different kingdoms. The Greeks adopted the Phoenician alphabet in that time, and they have further developed it, adding words. The Phoenicians import a lot of things in the island, particularly pottery. And then we move to the Assyrian domination. Modern elements of Eastern iconography are introduced in the art of the island, and we have bronze, jewelry, so people are becoming wealthy with more products, they learn how to make. And of course, we have the Egyptian occupation of Cyprus by Amasis, who was the first pharaoh who occupied Cyprus. He was well-known historian, Hellenic personality. The Egyptian occupation, of course, influenced the Cypriot art. And the Persians arrived to the island. It was very important for them to control the island of Cyprus because they used to control the whole area in the Middle East, so Cyprus was important for them. But the influence was not very significant in those days by the Persians. And then I will move on to the crypto-classical period of Cyprus, where the culture of that period was strongly influenced by the Greek art and custom. Especially King Elaboras invited many Greek artists and intellectuals to visit Cyprus and teach the Greek way of life and spirit. And this is where we have education to help change the culture, improve the culture. So we have the complete Hellenization of Cyprus by the Greeks. We have the first signs of democracy in the kingdom of Italia. There was some scripture that says that they treated the soldiers who were wounded in the war. After the war, they couldn't work, and these soldiers, they were treated by the state. So the state provided all the financial means for them to survive, and this is where the state starts caring for the people, and we have some democracy here. Of course, Alexander the Great conquered Cyprus in that time, in the 4th century BC, and Cyprus became independent, free. And I will move on with the Ptolemaic occupation. So we see the cultural influence in the island with many people arriving. Of course, the Romans. For the Romans, it was a very, very strategic position because they wanted to control Egypt. And as I said before, it was the stepping stone to Egypt. So they conquered Cyprus. They had problems with Antonio and Cleopatra in those days. So they managed to control Egypt from Cyprus. And of course we have the Christianity in Cyprus with the apostles Paul, Barnabas and Mark, who introduced Christianity to the island and converted the Roman governor Sergius Paulus. We have the Byzantine era, and we have the Bridge on the Lion Heart, the knights who came to the island. I will move on. And we have the Ottoman Empire, of course, the British colonization in 1878, and the independence of Cyprus 1960. So, I show you the different periods of our history that influence our culture. Cyprus culture, as the folk spirit, has a unique identity in terms of language, dialect, technology, cuisine, aesthetics, art, music, literature, fashion and architecture, values, ideology, social conventions including norms, taboos and etiquette, gender roles, recreational activities such as festivals and holidays, commercial practices, social structure, religion. Of course, we will go through all these the next 2 years when we're going to work for this project. Our language is, the national language is Greek language. We have Turkish and English. And now I'll show you some photos I found from earlier 20th century. And I will show you how our ancestors used to live in those days. This is the traditional costumes of Cyprus. Another picture that shows a coffee shop where people sit, have a coffee, Cyprus coffee, and drink. This is a family meeting. You can see some people sitting. And this is a wedding costume. You see how they look like? Very interesting the way they were dressed, wedding costumes, and their style. And this is early 20th century, 1935. I hope you understand what is this technology here. This is animal powered by water, powered water wheel, which is very, very old technology. It's more than 2,000 years technology. And this is some farmer sowing grain in this way. No tractors, no machinery, just by hand, everything by hand. But you can see the way they're dressed. They were poor people. Poor people got happy. Blowing with traditional wooden plow, designed more than 2,000 years old. As you can see, they used to do their farming using animals. And reaping. This is how they used to reap the wheat. And this is threshing. Yesterday in the museum we've seen the thresher, this machine they used to have. So this is how we used to do with animals, and there was a woman sitting on that thing in order to be heavy. Barley again, threshing barley again in the method of pre-Christian era. And then transporting hay by camel, and then transport of wheat by a mule cart, which is how they used to transport. And another picture, very interesting, as we've seen yesterday in the museum, this instrument, hand grinding wheat, flour, same in biblical era, of course, very old technology. But you can see the people, they were poor but happy, and they knew how to survive. These people, they knew they were self-sufficient. They knew how to solve problems. And this is for us to make us feel positive about life and have hope that we were able to survive. These people, they had very limited resources, but they had skills. They developed their skills, they had organization, and with very limited resources, they managed to be self-sufficient and survive without any problem. They never had a problem. They had food, they had clothes. Of course, another picture, baked bread in clay oven using scrap wood as fuel, designed in pre-Christian, of course. And this is the Cyprus bread, which is the same as Greek bread and maybe Turkish bread. It looks the same. So, olive harvest from a Greek black figure harvest of the 6th century BC. Till recently, we used the same method to harvest the olives. I used to do this when I was young. Of course, now we have technology, we have machinery. Now, olive pressing mill. Again, this is very old technique, but as you can see here, the gender role. You see, women are powering this mill. I don't know why, but it looks like women have this responsibility.
Because they are stronger.
They are stronger, probably. But it was very organized society, so the women used to do this job and men used to do some other job. So this is very old picture, and I'm happy that I found it. Showing a horse, of course. No tires, no cars. Some women cleaning. And this is drama, acting in a theater. So again, you see the culture. Again, drama acting in the theatre, traditional Cyprus dancing, where men were trying to impress the women dancing traditional dance, of course traditional songs, and when you come to Cyprus we will show you some traditional dancing and some traditional songs. Plays, of course, it was a form of artistic expression for young women to prove their skills and talent. In addition, it was a challenge which often resulted in the creation of masterpieces of art and craftsmen. And this art comes from the time of the ancient Greeks. The ancient Greeks brought it to the island. Of course, pottery, this is me visiting pottery craftsman shop, and I just took some pictures of the women doing this job. And when you come to Cyprus, I promise you I'll take you to see this place, because it's in my village, place I was born, and my grandparents were doing this job. And of course, we have some traditional food that today we will like you to try. This is our cheese, halloumi cheese. But what is important, it was those people, they found the way to preserve milk in different form in brine. So we had food technology, 1,000 years back. And of course, some delights, this shushuko made of grape juice. We have some here with us today. So, humanity now is in global accelerating cultural change period. Everything is changing. Our culture is driven by the expansion of international commerce, the mass media we have, the human population explosion. Development of technologies can produce changes within a society by altering social dynamics and promoting new cultural models. So everything is changing, we are on the move. And as educators, we play a very important role in changing the culture and improving the culture and creating a culture of peace where we all can live together in peace and respect each other. Thank you very much.
Our culture and about the ACL. My presentation is going to be a little bit different. In the first part of my presentation, I will talk to you a little bit about the theories of learning, since my subject is the teaching adults foreign languages. So, and in the second part of my presentation, I'll go to more practical steps of how to help people learn languages. A little bit to say about the learning. Learning is the process of acquiring knowledge and information. And how do we learn through the lifespan is a question that lots of psychologists have tried to explain with a variety of theories. Development is education. Development and education is lifelong. There is no age period that dominates development. And it includes both gains and losses interacting in dynamic ways throughout the life cycle. There are lots of factors that can affect the development. They interfere with social, with economical, with cultural, historical events, and we can give an example. For instance, if we take a 40-year-old adult who lives a pessimistic life or lives within a depression, will have a completely different development with a 40-year-old who lives an optimistic life, a happy life, and these two people may study the same subject, the same language, but the learning experience will be completely different. The famous cognitive theory of learning. Lots of psychologists support that in processing information, the human brain works like a computer. It has certain capacity and it has certain functions. And based on the cognitive theory, we learn based on 3 memory functions. Encoding, we encode information. Storing, we store the information. And regenerating, we regenerate the information. If we fail to any one of these 3 steps, then we will not be able to remember the information. Also, it's good to remember the short-term memory, to refer to the short-term memory, to the long-term memory, and to the sensual memory. When we say short-term memory, okay. The sensual memory includes the visual memory and the hearing memory, and at this point I wanted to give a little example to you. If, for instance, I give a little table with some letters, and I can ask you to look at them for a second, and then I will ask you to tell me, what do you remember? So, who can tell me what can recall from the previous slide? Any volunteer? Okay, this is just an example of the visual memory. Like we watch something, sometimes we can recall it, sometimes we don't. And that's exactly how it works. And like with the same way in the hearing memory, we hear something, sometimes we remember, we can recall it, sometimes we don't. And this is what goes accordingly to the short-term memory or to the long-term memory, and it stays there. The same with the hearing memory. Now, the hemispheres of the brain, the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. The right hemisphere, the characteristics is intuition, the fantasy, creativity, the music abilities, and the practical ways of doing things. The left hemisphere has to do with the logic, with the methodology, the research, the language, which is our topic, the critical thoughts, maths, and so on. Here we have the slide with the picture of the memory, of the brain, and you can see the left brain functions and the right brain functions. The language is on the left brain, on the left side of the brain. One more picture of the brain, so you can see the language, the reading, the vision, the hearing, the smell. Now, besides all these theories, we have some practical ways to teach audience particular languages. The first, I would say, critical point is to be prepared for diversity. Adults are coming from a variety of backgrounds, different ages, different experiences. Their native language might not be the same, so we have to be prepared for this. Express enthusiasm, we have to express enthusiasm to make the learning fun, to make an exciting experience for the adults who want to learn the language, to express enthusiasm, to motivate our adults to work harder. Use of repetition. We have to create exercises and worksheets so students can practice a variety of phrases and words in the language they're learning. Practice with real life examples. For instance, we can use examples of everyday situations, like how to ask for directions at a certain place, what would they buy at the supermarket or a pharmacy or to any other place, how to find their hotel or how to find an apartment, anything that has to meet their needs, anything that will use in the language they are learning. It's important to include vocabulary that they will need to use if they are living in the particular country that they are learning the language. Practice. We have to create opportunities for adults to practice their language. For instance, conversations. Have the students make dialogues with each other. Have the students ask and answer questions. This will force them to listen to each other and respond to the language they are learning. And the last point is to immerse the students in the language. If possible, take the students to a trip, or have the students play a theater, and have each of them learn a particular role. The best way for adults to learn the language is to complete immersion. Now, statistics. Statistics are showing that around 70% of the world's population don't speak the English language. A grasp of a different language improves our abilities to use our first language and explore other cultures more successfully. Concluding, I would say education is like a wonderful journey full of knowledge and experiences that every one of us has the opportunity to take and to go to any place he or she wishes to go. It's up to us to make our choices and gain the knowledge, the experience, and the education.
It's time for our Portuguese partners to be here to show us their presentations. So, Iulia Cariniaș.
It's a great pleasure to be here again with you. In my case, for the third time in Romania and in Vaslui. And me and my colleagues, Nuno, Teresa, and Paula, will try to show you a shorter version of what we prepared. We had a film from our school, but we can't download it now, so probably we will see it later. Alex will put it. Yes, okay. So the name we chose for our project, it's Show Me Traditions. It's slightly different from what you have got in the schedule, in the timetable, because foreign languages and folklore, they are very linked to one another, and so we can use both to teach foreign languages. You can say guide to teaching foreign languages through folklore or otherwise, the other way. It's the same objective, the same goal that we want. In this case, so Show Me Traditions, a guide to teaching foreign languages through folklore, and we chose this saying. It's not ours, of course. Tradition is a guide and not a jailer. And I think that in a very short sentence we have a lot here. And so we don't need any more words. How can folklore be a way to teach foreign languages? Folk and traditional arts are learned as part of the cultural life of a community. Community members share at least one thing in common, and often more. Common traits include ethnic heritage, language, religion, occupation, or a geographic region. A community's traditions are shaped by shared aesthetic and values, and are passed down from generation to generation, most often from family member to family member, or community member to community member. The primary means for learning folk and traditional arts is through observation conversation, and practice, as you can see there. Folklore includes traditions, practices, beliefs, and customs that are passed from person to person within a defined community. Folklore is based also on patterns, but these patterns often vary over time and space. For instance, you might have a cherished recipe like your Aunt Mary's apple pie that is a family favorite. Even if you eventually add an extra dash of cinnamon or add a fancy crust, the final product is still recognized by your family as Aunt Mary's apple pie. Other folk practices and customs, like traditional styles of clothing, often pass into popular culture and are sometimes adapted by formal culture. Popular culture and formal culture often influence folk practices. A good example of the fluidity between these categories is the way a local legend about a local landmark, that is folk, might be recreated on television or in the movies, folklore, and later printed in a tourist brochure formal by the government. We all recognize the value of these cultural treasures, treasures that we often overlook because they are so familiar to us. We believe that exploring and teaching the rich cultural lives of a country will enrich people's lives. Art is a process, not just a product, especially in the case of folk and traditional arts. I'm sorry. Having this in mind, what we intend to show in this short presentation is one way of transmitting our own traditions and at the same time teach a foreign language, English or French. The focus here is local, regional and national traditions, especially place-based art forms like music, dance, crafts, gastronomy, and other oral traditions, among others. These traditional art forms can be found in homes, neighborhoods, and communities in every corner of the country. Culture shapes our view of the world, and language is the most representative element in any culture. Any item of behavior, tradition, or pattern can only be understood in light of its meaning to the people who practice it. Language learning should be more than the manipulation of syntax and lexicon. Knowing how to share one's own traditions and culture to other people is also a way to understand and respect other people's and their ways of life. It helps to open people's eyes to the similarities and differences in the life of various cultural groups. By tying folk arts and folk life into the teaching of a foreign language, you can show that there are connections between their own cultures and those of people all over the world. And we are sharing this experience here. So, culture should be a message and language a medium. What we have now, it's a small prezi about, let's say, a course plan. Just an example of how we intend to work in the project. Okay, it's okay. To learn a foreign language, of course, to enhance oral language speaking skills, to foster awareness of cultural traditions and folk culture, to introduce research skills, among many others. The the image that was beside the text is one of our traditional handkerchiefs from the north region of Portugal. And it has to do with the young couple being in love, and usually men buy and give as a present to their girlfriend or wife. And it has different sayings, and usually they are not grammatically correct because it's the way people talk, so it's oral tradition. We will then make an introduction to folklore, and our trainees will have to study basic vocabulary, and we will have a brainstorming about folk life ideas. Our suggested themes are folk songs because they are very present in our culture and have to do with the different regions of our country. Festivities, there are many traditional dances and festivals, some of them related to harvest, different times of the year when people are working, and they are dancing and singing traditional songs. Oral traditions, legends and tales, recipes, typical music instruments, and crafts. What we expect from our trainees is using a foreign language. Trainees will work in groups and teams, be able to identify and describe different traditions, use written, oral and new technology sources to do research and present their work, present a short oral report, and be able to explain how change and cultural heritage affects everyone's life, even if we think it doesn't. It does every day in small things of our everyday life. So, again, culture should be a message and language a medium. We have another short précis because we thought that as Christmas was so near, and we also talked with our dear friend Roxana, and I think that in spite of what you believe or not about Christmas, we all share some common things about Christmas. And so we tried to show just a few examples of traditional dishes and what we do at Christmas. I don't know if we still have time to read.
But where is it? I didn't see
One of the phrases.
The north part of Turkey. And firstly, I want to talk something about our educational system. Principles regulating the Turkish educational system. The Turkish education system is organized on the basis of Constitution of the Turkish Republic, laws regulating education and instruction, government programs, development plans, and national educational councils. Based on these factors, education principles have been defined as follows. Education shall be national, education shall be republican, and shall be secular, and education shall have a scientific foundation. Education shall incorporate generally and equality, and education shall be functional and modern. Turkish educational system has democratic, modern, scientific, secular and co-educational characteristics. The purpose of the Turkish education system is to increase the welfare and happiness of the Turkish citizens and Turkish society, to support and facilitate economic, social and cultural development in national unity and integration, to make the Turkish nation as conservative, creative and distinguished partner in modern civilization. And in Turkey we use public educational centers for adult education, and it is possible to implement this project with public educational courses. For example, we may use folk dance courses, we may use handicraft courses implemented in this subject. All the courses in public educational centers are free, and we aim with these courses to teach people from various professions the knowledge and skills they need to improve themselves. Here we can see the numbers, the square, the capital, the monetary unit, language and population of Turkey, 72 million, and the major cities. And Kastamonu, as you know, our state, is one of the most important provinces of the Black Sea region, with its famous for cultural richness and national beauties. It has 7,000 years history, and it can be seen as a museum still. It is one of the most beautiful corners of the world because it is a peaceful area where people can escape from noisy and big cities for their holidays for seasons. It provides different holiday alternatives and facilities with its mountains, canyons, lakes and rivers, sea and green forests. It has also historical places, the castle, the clock tower, mosques, Muslim theological school, large commercial buildings, complex of buildings, public baths, fountains, traditional Turkish houses, and the examples of Ottoman architecture. Mount Ilgaz is a national park and wonderful resort center for mountaineering and winter sports, especially skiing. It has also unforgettable beauties with its rich plant forest cover, like Alps. You should certainly see our state, and I hope you will see it in the spring. Sure. Yeah. Here is the districts. Kastamonu has 19 towns with very historical beauties. This is the map of our state and the towns. And here are some pictures from our state, the castle of Kastamonu. Nighttime in Kastamonu, its river. Culture center. And this picture took from clock tower. General view from Kastamonu. This main square of the state. Historical houses. And winter sports. Ilgaz Mountains are in Black Sea region in the city borders of Kastamonu and Çankırı and have an altitude of 2,850 meters. Besides winter sports, this national park is popular and beautiful spot all year round. Some pictures from this city center, from Ilgaz. A waterfall. A village house. Another village. The historical village of the state. That's okay. I'm planning, just a minute, I'm planning to prepare a regional trip for historical places and for historical handicrafts of our tradition. That's that. We will see the region and its beauties in Turkey when you come there. We have a traditional house style, like open museum. We have a city far from Kastamonu, nearly 110 kilometers far from Kastamonu. It has old houses and it has some historical casts and handicrafts. We will see there. And my last Ethics in education is a subject which must be debated primarily. Education tries to affect and develop people during their life, but ethics is the reply which human tries to answer the questions, what should I do or how should I live? And this means there is a compulsory relation between education and ethics. Ethics is closely interested in methods and techniques which are used by teachers. At the same time, methods and techniques which are used by teachers influence knowledge, ability, and attitude of students too. For all that, a teacher must know where, what time, how, and for what he will use these methods and techniques. Basic of the science of education and ethics discipline human is both education and ethics together. So ethics can interfere every grade of education. We aim to combine both tradition and education with this project. While traditions shape the behaviors, we aim to promote intercultural European adult education by the help of this project as Kastamonu National Educational Directorate. Thank you.